Hi, everyone, and welcome. It's great to have you here from different time zones. Just briefly, today enterprises in regulated industries operate in multi-actor environments where AI, humans, and systems are all making decisions and taking actions. The challenge is ensuring outcomes deliver business value and remain compliant and defensible. That's exactly what we are going to explore today with Arash. I'm really excited to introduce Arash. Arash, known as the Angle of the Eye as Decision Intelligence, is the creator of decision-centric approach, and also he's sharing his insight on a daily basis on his LinkedIn. Arash, stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Decision Governance webinar. So without further ado, let's get it started. In highly regulated industries such as financial services, banking, insurance, governance cannot be taken lightly. Hence, there are several governance programs often run in parallel. Data teams govern quality, lineage, data access. AI team govern model accuracy, performance, explainability, RAG. Risk and compliance team govern policy, oversight, logs. IT governs admissible actions, execution boundaries, and authorizations. Everyone governs something. No one governs outcome. And that's the elephant in the room. For example, we can see 23% of analytical and problem-solving tasks were incorrect with using AI and LLM. Output were better and had better quality with persuasively wrong answers. Another report, 80% of AI ML projects, and that, by the way, refers to a traditional AI ML projects, failed to deliver any business values. That's the type 3 errors, because no one governs outcome. Another report, and it is a very recent one, in a very recent report, we can see 95% of Gen AI projects have no measurable P&L impact. Why? Again, because no one governs outcome. However, when we look at organizations, data is governed, AI is governed, process is governed, but still outcomes do not provide any business values in many of the cases that we see across organizations. For example, because of this, we can see wrong or delayed decisions. We can see inconsistent and non-compliant results, unintended consequences, conflicting actions, poor customer experience, and financial loss. Why? It's not because we don't want to govern outcomes. It's because we can't govern outcomes directly, but we can align them with business objectives. We can bring them under control to deliver business values. And that's the question we want to answer. How? A significant research from Bain shows that there is 95% correlation between financial performance and how effective companies make and execute decisions. Not 10, not 50, 95%. Let that sink in. So outcomes do not come from thin air. They are driven by decisions organizations make and execute. That means financial performance and organizations' values, for that matter, is not primarily data problem, not an AI problem, not even process problem. It's a decision problem. Ultimately, companies' value is a sum of decisions they make and execute. If we want to align and control outcomes, we need to govern decisions. Because in 95% of the cases, outcomes are driven by how decisions are made and executed. Decision governance is not decision management or rule management or AI platform. Decision governance must work across decision, decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum. Otherwise, you can't govern decisions, and therefore you cannot control and align outcomes to business objectives. Let's clarify distinctions between these terms before we go further. So a decision is simply a commitment to act based on data, insight, and logic. Decision model is a representation of a decision by specifying its requirements and various dependencies. It creates a shared understanding of what decision is and, as an organization, how we should go about it. While we are in the subject of decision modeling, it's worth mentioning the best technique of decision modeling is DMN. DMN is a standard way to represent a decision. Standard matters because without it, every team defines decisions differently, and that leads to inconsistency and misalignment, which contradicts the governance in the first place. There is a common misconception, though, that DMN is for rules. It's not. Rules are only part of it. DMN can model a very sophisticated decision using rules, computation, machine learning, LLM, etc. Also, when you use DMN conformance level 3, the models by definition are executable. No handoffs, no reinterpretation, no gap between intent and execution. Then decision cycle is an iterative loop that creates contextualized boundary for execution of decisions and execution of actions. Because if there is no decision execution, there is no action. If there is no action execution, nothing changes in organizations. Additionally, to execute a decision at decide stage, we need a context that is constructed in orient stage. And to create the context and state, we need data and history, which is accessed through the observe stage. That's how observe, orient, decide, act shapes a decision cycle. And decisions do not live in isolation. Execution of a full decision cycle alters the trajectory of the downstream decisions. They influence each other. Situation of the subject who are making a decision changes, environment changes, rules, regulation, etc. And it's a multi-actor environment. They live in a continuum where downstream impact and their relevance change over time. And this behavior makes decisions long-running and stateful. Therefore, decision governance, as we discussed, must work across decision, decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum, so it can improve decision effectiveness. And that's what it is, the decision governance is about. And as the result, we can bring alignment and control to outcomes. Hence, there is a 95% correlation between the outcome and decisions. So decision governance does not replace what you already have. Data governance, AI governance, they are all still required. They govern the inputs to decisions, but decision governance introduces something new, a progression path from decisions to mature over time and improves their effectiveness. That's what decision maturity model represents. And the three pillars of decision governance you can see sits in the intersection. They connect decision maturity model to the capabilities that support it. Without this, AI, process, data remain disconnected from outcomes, which caused a wide ranges of failure we've already discussed. With decision governance, they are aligned with outcomes through decisions. Decision introduces the decision maturity model to govern decisions. How about governing decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum? How does the decision governance go about that? To do that, decision governance requires to govern execution boundary. That's the execution cycle, the decision cycle, which includes the execution of decisions and executions of actions, because if they are separate, the admissibility will be broken. The execution of decisions and actions within a commit boundary requires data from systems, customer, platform, external events, signals, and many other data sources. However, that's not all the enterprise data you have. It's the data relevant to that specific decision cycle. That's called decision-ready data. That actually solves the problem of boiling the ocean. Data alone is not enough. It has to be contextualized, which decision-ready context, it is all about that contextualization of the decision-ready data. More often than not, decisions are stateful, therefore execution requires decision state as well. So decision-ready context plus decision state form a structured read-only memory for decisions execution that is called decision memory with full access control in a multi-actor environment. And decision governance, execution of the decisions, in decision governance, execution of the decisions happens based on an explicitly modeled business decision. So the decision modeling that we discussed about the DMN and executable model, that is the execution of that model happens in the decide stage. It is not an implicit decision, not hidden in code and AI agents and sitting in dashboard. Explicit decisions with ownership, clear structure, executable logic. Decision governance takes into account the authority for the actor. Also, the explicit decision model ensures consistency, transparency, and reproducibility. Based on the execution of the specific decision model, set of relevant actions will be determined, which is the next best actions. But decision results only matter if actions are executed. In the act state, we execute and we carry out those actions. If required, act can spread across time in the decision continuum. Either way, decision governance ensures authorization, admissibility, and correctness of action, execution, and carrying out the tasks. Decision governance requires to govern decision continuum because some actions within a single decision cycle may require feedback. For example, customer journey requires feedback from the clients, or multiple decision execution cycle may require to happen in different time frame, which all means continuum must preserve state, ensures right decision cycle at the right time, with memory and context provided, which is the decision memory as we discussed. Therefore, decision governance also governs continuum to ensure execution context and span across time happens without breaking authorization, admissibility, and explainability. So that's how decision governance governs decision, decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum. This ensures then the decision can align the outcomes with the business objectives. So far, we established what decision governance is and how it goes about governing different aspects of decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum. Now, the next question becomes where to start. So, as I mentioned, the first step is the decision governance to govern decisions. Well, what does that look like? Decision governance provides something new that is called decision maturity model. And within the decision maturity model, that's where you start. The first step of the decision maturity model. This ensures that the decisions, the business decisions, they go through an iterative and progression to becomes from invisible, hidden to an visible, to model, to automated, to optimized level. Essentially, each level increases the effectiveness of the business decision. It reduces inconsistency, delay, and risk, and increases the shared understanding of what decision is and how we go about it, which in turn ensures alignment with business objective and control outcomes. Now, the first step is invisible. At this level, decisions exist, but they are hidden. They are embedded in dashboard, workflows, manual judgment, system triggers, you name it, inside your AI agent, LLM prompts, and so on, which means knowledge is lost and decisions cannot be governed when hidden. So the first step is to identify them. This is to start creating something called decision inventory. It makes them surface, even though we may know a little about them at this level, but still we can identify them with some attributes like the identifier, name, description, owner, scope, frequency, etc. What is relevant to that business function. Now, the next level is decisions become surfaced. We want to make them visible, but still scattered across many different functions or across many different teams, and we have incomplete information about them. So the goal here is to bring structure and complete the information of specific decisions in the inventory. To bring this structure, we need to add context by adding decision frame around them, which means map them to business strategy, initiatives, KPI, and we group them. By creating decision frame, now decisions are no longer isolated. They are understood in the context of organization strategy, initiatives, and how they impact business outcomes. Now that we have this frame and context, we can apply something called quick act decision test. And based on the impact frequency and the result of that test, we can prioritize them to go to the next step. Remember, this is all iterative and we can go back and forth between different levels for different decisions or same decisions to make them mature over time. Now, the quick act test, the intent for this test is to make sure important decisions are ready for prime time. Prime time is risk plus impact. That is the moment decision become critical. What is the prime time? For a decision that is significantly having the strategic impact. It is regulated, it is irreversible, having impact on human life and livelihood, or contractually binding for our organizations. That's what the prime time is. And we test that whether this specific decision inside from the decision inventory we have from level 1 can pass this test. Quick, accurate, consistent, transparent, and acted. If we hesitate to answer that, That means they are not ready for prime time. Therefore, if the frequency is important and it is critical in prime time, we move them to level 2. And the intention is, as we go through these levels, decision gets more matured. Now, at level 2, at this level, decisions should be explicitly defined. Now, from the previous level, we had the context, how they are impacting organization's outcome, and we have all the necessary attributes, how that impact looks like, and frequency of them that's happening, the boundaries, the ownership, the authority, all of that, right? Now, in this level, we explicitly model and specify those decisions. This is the modeling practice of that specific decision. So with that structure, we specify the input, the logic, the dependencies. Of course, we use DMN conformance level 3 because it creates executable and ready decisions, execution ready models for that specific decision, which significantly reduces time, cost, and IT handover when we go to the next stage. And it's very important to notice with using the DMN, we essentially guarantee clarity, transparency, and consistency. Additionally, it narrows down the requirements for data. We don't need to have all the data available in the world. We just need the specific data for these specific decisions as they go past through these levels of maturity. And the next level is automate. Remember, we modeled the decision in previous level with DMN. That means they are executable. What does that automate mean? Automate is not only execution of that single decision. Automate is operationalizing that decision in system workflows channels. And then we monitor them and we creating consistently outcome for the real business operation. So that's where the operationalization happens. Because now we model with DMN and we are operationalizing across the organization operation in that specific function, we need to make sure they are fully traceable, explainable, compliant, and produce consistent outcome, which improves, which is aligned with business objectives. That is why we use DMN and why we give them the context and we move them through this maturity model. So if a decision is at this stage, because it went through all of these levels of maturity, it guarantees that it is traceable, explainable, defensible, and compliant. And the last level of the maturity is to make sure they are optimized over time. So as I mentioned, that's now becomes the continuum governance, which we track states, we detect drift, we collect feedback, we monitor impact, and it enables us to optimize both individual decisions and the trajectory over time. So that was the application of the decision maturity model to build the decision inventory and make the decision go through this progression path from invisible to visible to model to automated and to optimized. Now, to do that, we need a structure to make that progression happen in a controlled way that guarantees the quality of the decision. That structure is defined by 3 pillars of decision governance. The design pillar ensures alignment and clarity. Engineering pillar ensures reliable execution platform by providing coherence and modularity. And operation pillar is to assemble, operationalize, monitor decisions, ensuring impact and compliance with agility. Together, they ensure decisions are not only well designed, but also reliably run to produce consistent outcome driven with the objectives and fully traceable and explainable. It makes decision an organization asset across enterprise, and that's the goal. This is a shift from unmanaged decisions to governed decisions and improving decisions effectiveness. From decisions being hidden and scattered across code, AI agents, LLM prompt, to explicitly modeled decisions that are executable and producing outcomes that are aligned with business objectives. From actions happening without control outside of a commit boundary to execution of the fully bound decision cycle with admissibility. From unpredictable outcomes to outcomes that are defensible, traceable, continuously improved, and aligned with business objectives. That's what decision governance change. It works across decision model, decision cycle, and decision continuum. And with that, just to recap and show you what the future looks like, Gartner is predicting a massive wave of death by AI legal claims by the end of 2026. Some people may think that's an exaggeration, but they're missing the point. The death is not caused by AI itself. It's caused by what we call lack of decision governance. And we are already seeing the signals. No ROI because decisions aren't governed. High failure rate of data and AI project because model execution is disconnected from outcomes. Compliance issues because decisions are not explicit and not explainable. That's exactly what decision governance fixes. Govern decisions, control outcome. If you want to see how it works in practice for you, scan this QR code and we can give you your own decision governance playbook. And with that, I'm open to answer any question if anyone has.
Thank you so much, Arash. I don't see any questions yet, but if there is any questions, you can easily contact info@flexroom.com, and we are more than happy to answer through email. If there is any feedback that you like to share with us after this webinar, actually, Arash, yeah, sure. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, if there is, I can see a couple of feedbacks coming, Arash, through the chat. If there is anything else that you'd like to share with us, please contact us at info@flexroom.com. I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us today.